The views expressed by our guests in the following video are solely the opinions of our guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and or opinions of the Ola 7 podcast show. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello guys and welcome to the Genius Kids. This is the show where we sit down and celebrate young talents, young minds, young passions, and I am your host Aisha Nyanzunda. And today is an exciting one for me because I'm hosting this guy. He's actually a friend of a friend, right? He's a robotics genius, but he's not only a robotics genius, he does so well in school as well. I remember the time that I met him, it was at the Rusununguko High School prize giving ceremony, and this guy was just getting all the prizes. Why? His name is Lenny Makochekanwa. He's an 18-year-old robotics genius. And we're here to sit down with him and talk about some of his innovations. Hi, Lenny. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Aisha. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm so happy to sit down with you because all right, so please introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Lenny Makochekanwa, as Aisha has said. I'm an 18-year-old student at Rusununguko High School, and I'm into robotics.
Yeah, you're not only into robotics, but we'll talk
And
about that later.
Other things.
Right. So you're 18 years old. That means you're doing your A-levels, right?
Yes.
And how many subjects are you doing?
Well, I'm doing more than the usual. I'm doing 5 subjects.
Why 5 subjects?
Well, I don't really know why, but then I just find it that if I do it that way, I feel alive. It makes me feel alive. It connects with me.
All right. And which subjects are you doing?
So I'm doing mathematics, physics, chemistry, computer science, and building technology and design.
Interesting. So I assume for you to then do 5 A-level subjects, you actually were doing, how many were you doing at O-level?
I did 11 at O-level.
And you only need 5 O-levels. So how were your results looking like at O-level?
So at O-level, I had 10 A's and 1 B.
B angere kuchi?
Physics.
Okay. I understand. So now you're still doing A physics at A-level?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about the robotics. When did you start doing robotics?
Well, my journey with robotics was a bit funny. In 2023, there's this guy from Robocod, Mr. Nyati. He came to school. He was saying, we're introducing robotics as a subject at your school. So most people were hyped about it, especially the Form 1s and Form 2s. So a number of people actually joined robotics, but I didn't. And then the deputy head came to me and said, you should join robotics. You're good with these things. You have background in computer science, so you should be able to transit smoothly to robotics. But I didn't take it seriously. It was only after I came back to Rusununguko for A-levels that I was told about the Inception Robotics competition for the year 2024. And one of the teachers, my computer science teacher actually, persuaded me to start doing robotics classes. I paid the fee for robotics classes. I think I only did 3 classes the whole term. I used to skip most of the classes. And then in April, during the holiday, I got a call from one of the teachers at schools. And they were like, the director of Zimfeb, Comrade Chukira, wants you to come with him to Bulawayo for the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. You are supposed to exhibit an artifact for robotics. And I was like, I have nothing prepared. So we just went to school. I had nothing prepared. When we got to Bulawayo, the trade fair was in 2 days' time. And then some guys from robotics were like, you're going to make a project. This is what you're going to need. They gave me a lot of electronics components. And I built a smart vest.
The smart vest. Talk to me about the smart vest. What does it do?
So the smart vest was a safety feature for miners specifically. it had wireless communication capabilities, and it had multiple sensors. It had the orientation sensor such that when a miner is underground in the tunnels, we would know back from the headquarters that our miner is still active, he's standing upright. If he's to fall down, we would detect it from the orientation sensor. It had a gas detector. If there's a toxic gas that is from the underground tunnels, we would know about it, and we would alert the miner so that they evacuate the tunnels. And then thirdly, it had a heart rate sensor so that we would monitor the vitals of our miners as they are underground. So that was the Smart Fest.
All right, so the Smart Fest, I understand you needed to have something to exhibit.
Yes.
But what inspired it? Do you know any miners in specific? What brought about this innovation?
So the innovation, well, I don't know any miners, but then it was around the time when there had been an incident at Scott Sakupwanya's mine, and several miners had been trapped underground.
Right.
So I just read that article. So when I had to come up with a project, I just thought of that incident.
That's smart. That's innovation when you solve problems. So you mentioned a lot of things, the trade feather. But I want to go back to Robocoder, which is on your shirt, obviously.
Yes.
Let's talk about Robocoder. What is Robocoder and what do they do? How do they help young innovators like yourself make their dreams or their visions come true?
So Robocoder is a company, consists of quite a number of people now. It's a growing company, and their main business is teaching robotics in schools. They have quite a number of schools that they teach robotics at, all the Simfep schools, Chivaraidze Primary School, Westridge Primary and Secondary Schools, and a lot more schools that they teach robotics at. So the company started, I think, about 3 years ago, and they search for young talents in schools who they can introduce to robotics so that they become like me.
Interesting. And you also said that you exhibited your Smart Vest at the International Trade Fair.
Yes.
That was last year.
Yes, last year in April.
And how was that experience for you? Because International Trade Fair, kune like different people from all over the world were showing different things. How do you think your exhibit compared to the other things to the other robotic products that you saw there?
Well, my exhibition, we were in the ZANU PF4.
Okay.
And I was the only one exhibiting a robotics artifact in the hall. Because Zimfep had a stand, but then there was a lot to exhibit. The history of Zimfep, how it was founded and everything. So the stand was filled with those artifacts they had to present. So I had to be moved to the Youth League stand. And I was the only one in the whole ZANU PF4 exhibiting a robotics artifact.
All right. So now you're mentioning some things that some people may be confused about. ZANPF Zimfep. Maybe you can just tell the people at home how is ZANPF linked to Zimfep, and then how does Zimfep then link to your school, Rusununguko High School?
Okay, so Rusununguko High School, it was born out of the liberation struggle. After the war, freedom fighters had no education, so they decided to build a school for their freedom fighters. That is how Rusununguko was born. Alongside with other sister schools, there are 8 Zimfep schools, one in every province except for Masvingo province and Harare.
Okay.
So Zimfep was Zimfep Zimbabwe Foundation for Education with Production. It is a part of the ruling party. It is a subsidiary of the ruling party, ZANU-PF, that was formed to teach the freedom fighters who had returned from the war after the liberation struggle in 1980, to teach the liberation freedom fighters. So that is how Zimfep, ZANU-PF, and Rusununguko High School are all connected.
All right. Okay. Now let's get into the Inception Robotics Competition 2024. That is a competition that was held where?
It was held at Westridge Secondary School.
Okay. Talk to me about the preparations for that.
So the Inception Robotics Competition, after we came back from the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair, we had to prepare for the Inception Robotics Competition, but it was second term of the year, which is usually the busiest. So it was something that was at the back of my mind, because I still didn't realize that I have so much potential in robotics, and I didn't take it seriously. So up until the final week of preparation for the competitions, we had absolutely no idea of what we were doing. We were a team of 5. and we had nothing prepared for the competition. And then in the final week, one of our robotics teacher came. He was like, "Have you prepared for the competition?" And we didn't even know what the competition was about or what we were going to do at the competition. We just knew that we were going to go at the competition. So we had a few lessons on the programming because we were using new kits. The Avishka kit is the one in front of us. It was relatively new to every one of us. We had no experience with it, so we had to train. We had to get familiar with it. Then we went to the competition. The competition was 2 days, Friday and Saturday. So Friday, we were to spend the whole day building our robots, which were going to compete on the final day on Saturday of the competition. So after the training sessions, we went to Westridge Secondary School where we were going to do the competition. We spent the whole of Friday building the robot. Time flew, and by nightfall, we hadn't completed our robot. And we had so many faults with our robot that we at some point lost hope of losing the competition, of winning the competition. But then we went back to our hostels at night. Before we slept, we gathered as a team to discuss our strategy for winning the competition, how we are going to improve our robot, how we are going to solve our errors. We went on YouTube, searched for a few videos on how to do what we needed to do, but then it was fruitless. We had a huge argument, everyone went out, and then for about 30 minutes, everyone was sitting silently. No one was talking to the other. And then after that, we reconciled, we brought our minds together, and then we worked out a strategy. So on Saturday in the morning, we woke up early, we woke each other up early, had our showers, went for breakfast, and then we got to the arena before everyone else so that we could work on our robots and improve them. We did the work on the robots. They performed well during the tasting of the robots, and then the competition came. So we participated in 3 categories. There was an obstacle course, there was robot soccer, and there was the line tracing. So we played our first match in robot soccer, and we lost 1-0. Well, it was the first match we had of the day, and we had hope that we were going to win the others that came. We devised a new strategy of winning the competition, and the rest of our games in Robo Soccer, we were victorious in all of them. Then we went to the obstacle course. We had designed our robot in such a way that it had no challenges at all in participating in the obstacle course. We victored in that area. Then we went to the line following. So because we were using infrared sensors, they were affected by the sunlight. We had tested the robot in the morning before the sun was up. Everything was working well. But during the daytime, when the sun was up, it affected the effectiveness of our sensors. So the robot did not follow the line. And one of the teams actually had a robot that outperformed our robot. And we ended up coming second place in the Inception Robotics competition.
So you were second place, and who was first place?
The team from Chindunduma won.
All right, interesting. And when you were talking, as you were narrating, you were saying we, and I assume this was a team effort. How big is your team?
It was a team of 5.
All right.
Yes.
And so when you're working in a team and you're doing robotics, how do you divide and conquer the duties, and who's coming up with the ideas? How does that work? Because all along, I thought it was a solo job.
No, there's no such thing as a solo job. It always requires team effort in robotics. Because as for me personally, my skills, my strength is in programming. But then when you are just a programmer, you can't program a robot without the mechanical aspect of the robot. And you are sometimes going to need pilots who are going to control the robot. So there are different personnel that are required for a team of robotics to be successful. You need at least 3 people so that you are a successful team.
All right. And I know from there you went on to go represent the country in India at the Technologia Robotics World Cup.
Yes. So the Inception Robotics competition, the first prize was a trip to India for participation in the Technologian Robotics World Cup. We had come second place, but because the score difference was only 0.4 points, the board of directors decided that we were almost equally good as the team that came first place. So they decided that both first place and second place go represent the country in India for the Technology and Robotics World Cup.
Okay. And how was the experience in India?
Okay, so when we got to India, we thought it was just going to be a walk in the park like we had done at Technology and Robotics World Cup, at Inception Robotics competition. We thought we were just going to win like we won back in Zimbabwe. We thought we were going to need maybe a few hours of preparation and we are good enough to go for the competition, but the case was totally different. So we were supposed to leave Zimbabwe on the 22nd. And I think we did the robots building on the 20th. After coming from the embassy of India for our visas, we sat down as a team, we built our robots, we tested them. There had a lot of errors. We carried them to India with those errors. And the night we arrived, we worked on them and they were good to go. But when we got to the competition, it was a wake-up call, I would say.
How many countries were participating?
I'm not so sure about the countries that participated in the competition because it was a knockout challenge and unfortunately we were knocked in the first round.
Okay, but I think the exposure is good and next time
Yes.
you guys will do better.
Yeah, we'll definitely do better because now we have experience. We understand what kind of a competition is and what we need to be fully prepared for such a competition.
All right. And you have mentioned that you have only been doing robotics since April-ish last year.
Yes.
Which means it's been less than a year.
Yes.
And you were not taking it seriously. Are you now taking it seriously?
Well, after the Technology and Robotics World Cup in India, I realized what there is in robotics. And now I'm taking it seriously.
And throughout your journey, would you say has been the most challenging thing for you?
Well, the most challenging team was teamwork, actually, because the people I had in my team, yes, we were friends, but then we had our differences.
Okay.
And in order to be successful as a team, we had to overcome those differences which we had. So that was one of the challenges we had.
Okay. And what would you say is your proudest moment in the robotics journey?
Oh, my proudest moment would be the moment when we were posing for the photo, holding the runners-up shield for the Inception Robotics competition.
All right. And how do you think robotics can change the future of Zimbabwe?
Well, we can't say robotics will change the future of Zimbabwe because it is actually the future. Everything with time will become automated. All those boring tasks that are repetitive, we've just replaced them with robotics. We can't have someone who is going to be lifting heavy bags of cement or maybe maize in the factories every day, 24/7. We have robots doing those tasks so that we humans can focus on the much more demanding tasks instead of doing repetitive tasks which bring out no productive when we have robots to replace them.
All right. Interesting. So I know when you were choosing your subjects for A-level, you had an aspiration in mind. You had a dream. When I grow up, I want to be this and that. But now that you have done this whole robotics thing, you've been exposed to this, you have gone to India, you've seen what other people are doing out there in the world. Has that changed? What are your aspirations?
Well, I believe that what is truly mine, what my purpose is, will find me. So in choosing the subjects for A-level, I was good in maths and I liked maths. I liked my maths teacher. So I was like, definitely I'm going to do mathematics. Physics, I was good at physics, even though I got a B. I messed up the practical, so I got a B. I knew I had a calling in physics, so I continued doing physics. And the same goes for chemistry. When it came to computer science, I did computer science in Form 3. Form 4, I was no longer doing computer science. But when it came to, before the exams during my Form 4 year, I actually helped some of the guys who were doing computer science with their projects and all that. And I realized that I have a strength in computer science and I should pursue it and see where it takes me. And it has taken me to robotics. Then as for building, there was a time when I was going through a hard time at school. And that is when I started doing building. The drawing, the architectural designs, I found peace doing that. That's why I continued doing building.
You sound like a genius. Drawing brings you peace, of all things. Okay, so the people at home are wondering why your hat looks like that.
Okay, so this is one of the most recent projects I've been working on. It's a smart cap designed for the visually impaired. So this smart cap is ultrasonic sound sensors which help to detect obstacles as they are walking in the streets, or maybe if there's something on their way, it alerts them. If there's something coming from the side, they get an alert. So
Yeah, let's see how it works.
So this cap, in front it has an ultrasonic sensor, detects objects in front. The same goes for the two sides, the left and right sides.
Okay.
When there's an obstacle in front of the cap, it will sound a buzzer. But if there's an obstacle on the left or right side, there's a vibrating motor that will do a slight vibration on your left side or your right side. Then you will know that there's something on your left or your right side. So I'll just power it on. So you see now, there's something in front of it. It's going to make a sound. If there's nothing, it's silent. The same goes for the sides. There's a vibration motor here and another one there. There's something on the left or right side, it will vibrate. You know that there's something on your right. You avoid the obstacle without even seeing it.
All right. And how did you come up with this? Did you dream of it?
No, not really. This was actually a project that came out because of availability of resources.
All right.
I had the ultrasonic sensors, I had the buzzer, and I was wondering what I could make out of it. Usually the ultrasonic sound sensors, we use them for obstacle detection. For example, one of my friends last year for the ZITF, they had a smart bin which had an ultrasonic sensor, detects someone coming, the bin automatically opens. If the bin is full, it won't open. It will flash a red light that the bin is full. So that's the experience I had with the ultrasonic sensors. I thought maybe I could use it to detect objects so that I can actually walk with my eyes closed. And came
Oh, so
out.
you were just doing it for fun.
Yeah, it was actually
but I
for fun.
think this could be really helpful, especially for the visually impaired, like you're saying. They will use it to get rid of the walking stick, and
Yes.
they just move
Actually,
independently.
this was accompanied by a walking stick. The project had a walking stick. Okay, let me just shut that off. I also developed a walking stick that had an ultrasonic sensor as well. If there's something in front of you, if your walking stick, it will just make a sound, you know there's something. Yeah, but I didn't have the walking stick today.
Nah, that's fine. Okay. Let's talk about the smart gate.
Okay, so this one is one of my projects I did, one of my first ones. I developed it using the Avishka Advanced Robotics Kit. It was actually a training
The
kit.
Awa?
Avishka.
What is that? What is the Avishka robotics?
So Avishka is an Indian company.
Okay.
They make robotics kits for training in schools. Even if you want to learn robotics for yourself personally, it's a good starting point with the Avishka kit. They have several kits. They have the MEX kit. They have the advanced robotics kit. They have the professional kit and a lot more other kits. So these kits come with quite a number of actuators and sensors which you'd use, and also a programmable computer which you can use for your projects.
All right. So can you show us how the smart gate works?
Okay, so the smart gate has two sensors, one on the outside and one on the inside.
All right.
If someone is approaching from the outside, the sensor on the outside will detect that there's someone outside and the gate will open. As they pass through the gate, a sensor on the inside detects that they have left. Okay, it's jammed. Okay. If there's nothing on either side of the sensors, then there's no one passing through the gate will automatically close. If someone comes through, the gate will open, wait for them to pass through, and then the gate will close.
Oh, and I understand this is a prototype. Can we actually use this on our real gates?
Yes, this is actually fully scalable. It can be implemented like the gates we use at home, the ones that are electronically powered with remotes. We could just place a few sensors around the area of the gate, and then it becomes automated like this one.
Ah, interesting. Very innovative. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And there are people at home who are watching, they want to be inspired, they also want to venture into robotics and be like Lenny and come up with helpful innovations, what word of advice would you give to them?
I would simply say go for it. There's a lot you can do. There's a lot you learn about yourself, about robotics, about the world. And it's a great experience, all in all.
All right. And it would be very unfair for me to not give you the opportunity to thank the people who have been on this journey with you. So this is the time that you can thank the people who have supported you, who have helped you, who have been with you in your robotics journey.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank my father. When I started doing A-levels, I'm doing 5 subjects. You know how it is. Everyone is saying, why 5 subjects? Why are you doing 5 subjects? It doesn't make sense to do 5 subjects. You only need 3. And some were actually saying it's going to be a lot of pressure for you. You might fail because you have a lot of pressure on. But then he was the only one who said, if he wants to do 5 subjects, if he thinks he can do it, which I know he can, let him do it. And that's how I continue with doing 5 subjects. Then my computer science teacher, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here today, because she's the one who persuaded me to do robotics. Because every time I walked into the computer lab, every time I came for a lesson, before the lesson, after the lesson, during the lesson, she would say, join robotics. It's meant for you. And then Robocod Zimbabwe. If it wasn't for them, there wouldn't have been robotics at Rusununguko High School, and I wouldn't have been able to do robotics at Rusununguko High School. Also, the headmaster, Mr. Veremu of Rusununguko High School, he was the one who allowed Robocod to conduct robotics lessons at Rusununguko High School. And lastly, I would like to thank the director for coordination, ZimFab, Comrade G. Chiwukira. He was the one who pushed for robotics to be taught in schools. Because in the previous years, robotics, electronics, and all that was something that was later done at tertiary, at university. But then he was like, no, we should have this also in high school and primary school, together with the wife of the vice president, Kenny Obaloi. They were the ones who pushed for robotics to be taught in school. And now today we have schools teaching robotics.
And I want to thank you so much, Lenny, for coming onto this show and showing us your innovations and even inspiring us and inspiring the people at home. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. And to you at homes, thank you so much for being with us on this episode of The Genius Kids. I am your host, Aisha Nyanzunda. Thank you so much. Join us again, same time next week for more of this inspiring, insightful conversations with our young geniuses.
It's the little things that make us giants in our industry. We put in that extra mile of service so your car can go that extra mile of performance. Our aim is to make our stopovers feel like home. Giant Petroleum. Limitless energy.